Should I state my name, birthday, mother's maiden name, pronouns?
Your mother's maiden name goes kind of stupid. Let's get that on record. Real quick. What is your mother's maiden name? That's what we're here to talk about.
My mother's. I could go on and on.
About my mother's maiden name. Yes. Okay. So, Apryl.
That's me. Hello.
That's her. You and I explore a lot.
Yeah.
A surprising amount. Like, probably illegal, actually.
Huh?
What?
Huh?
Anyway.
You don't do that.
Why? Why? No, okay, so what about, like, exploration? Why do you enjoy it?
That's a good question. I enjoy exploration because it gives me the opportunity to, like, see buildings stuck in time, sort of, or seeing places stuck in time. And is also a good place to build connections with the people I'm going with. It's really just a fun thing to do, and it feels like, living life like a delinquent teenager, and it's just super fun. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I feel like exploring is very, like, adolescent-y. It's like a very, like, much like a thing as a teen to do.
Yeah.
When you're a teen, you kind of, like, there's this sense of, like, you're not new to the world, but you haven't seen everything, and you're also at that point in your life where you're able to go out and do whatever you want, kind of. You have more willingness to it, whether you're allowed to or not. Whatever, that doesn't really matter. When you're an adolescent, it's kind of like a part of adolescent rebellion is exploring. I also thought you were just going to say, I like seeing buildings, and that was it. Why do you think that's a part of adolescence? Like, what from society has made, like, adolescence, and why does adolescence and rebellion and, like, kind of go hand in hand?
That's a very good question. I don't really have an answer. I mean, throughout history, we see, like, like in the late 1900s, we see, like, greasers and stuff, like, in
1900s.
like late 19 or 20th, yeah,
20th century. We're in the 21st.
whatever, yeah, 20th century. You see a lot of, like, just, yeah, you see, like, teenagers just going out and doing, like, literally illegal things.
Yeah.
Because they want to enjoy this childhood, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, with their, like, because as a child, you're more stuck in your neighborhood, sort of, in your surroundings. But when you are a teenager, you get a little bit more freedom that allows you to explore the world. And being a teenager, like, when it comes to doing illegal things, you're not as trapped by the law as you are when you're an adult. So teenagers will go and do things that are not necessarily legal just because they still can get away with it.
Yeah.
That's why people will, like, party at a young age and, like, drink and explore abandoned buildings and go do these things that they wouldn't do as adults. Because the consequences are minimal. Yeah.
I think one thing that you mentioned that was, like, really cool is the idea of you have your childhood where you're trapped and you're kind of stuck in being a child. You're stuck in your crib, and then you don't even know how to walk yet. And when you do, you're very much babied. Once you're in high school, you enter this era where you're able to drive, you're able to be out on your own, and you're going to be on your own in college. But I think one thing that's very interesting is that we are adolescents. Like you mentioned, we're still in a part of our childhood, and yet we're kind of having to choose what we're going to do for the rest of our lives. As these adolescents, we're kind of choosing, do we want to go to college at all? And if we do want to go to college, what for? Do you think our age group is ready, or do you think we need to have more time? Do you think people our age are able to choose what they want to be forever?
Um, hmm. So I see a lot of people our age struggling because they don't know what they want to do with their lives. The people around them kind of do or have this set goal, but that can change throughout life. And I never think it's too late to explore a newfound passion. My brother, he didn't decide what he wanted to do until his first year in college. Like, the idea of a major that's just undecided is a good thing because people aren't ready, or not everybody's ready to like set their mind to this one goal. Like my brother again, um, he wanted to be a doctor when he first entered college, and now he's doing corporate law, which is the other, just not that similar.
Yeah.
Um, so people's minds can change, and also like there's so many new job opportunities opening up, and with that people have more freedom to choose what they want to do because not everybody's stuck to these what is it, blue collar jobs or whatever, like, physical labor, 9 to 5s. um but I don't think high school is I don't think like by the end of high school most people are going to know what they want to do with the rest of their lives,
Yeah.
because this is what the second decade of their lives out of, and they have like what, 6 more
Yeah.
where they're going to be doing something they decide in the second decade of their life.
Yeah.
So it really like clouds the teenager's mind and kind of brings anxiety and this existential feeling when they think about the future. Um, yeah.
There is this kind of like weirdly inherent fear when you're adolescents of just kind of everything. And I think that's where exploring helps, is you're exploring both physically, like you're literally going out and seeing something that is unknown to you and making it known. You see something that interests you or you think is cool and you go there and you look and you experience it, whether it is literally going to an abandoned building or just doing something for the first time, trying something new. That's still exploring. And that's why there's like, I was gonna say, not so much that that's why, but like that's part of the reason we explore, is that it's making something unknown known, which is what we're afraid of in the future. The future is so unknown. There's like so many big unknowns in life, and like it's like death, and that's like the big one that everyone talks about. Oh, it's death. That's what religion is for. It's for explaining death. But when you're an adolescent, it's not just death, because that's not really something more immediate. That's more, what's more immediate is just your life. Your life is fast approaching. When you're a child and a teenager, you're kind of disconnected from your life. You're still a part of it, but nothing feels as vast or as important as it does when you start getting older. When you become like a senior, everything you do feels so important, and exploring is kind of almost like projecting. You're taking that fear of you don't know what you're going to do with your life. Everything is unknown in front of you, and you see it, and you see, like a hallway that you've never explored before. You see it, and you don't know what's there. When you're exploring, you get to walk down that hallway and explore at your own leisure. When you're going off to college, you don't know. It's another unknown hallway, but you're kind of unable to explore as you feel. It's like there's boundaries. You can't, go you can't decide what you're going to do with your life. Like, you can't choose your major until blank. You can't know what you want to do with your life It's almost like it's too fast, right? You don't want to explore this hallway yet, but you have to. You must explore this hallway. You need to know what you need to do next. Like, people are telling you, what do you want to do? That's like the biggest question that you get asked as a teenager. Like, which is crazy to think that people are asking 16-year-olds, what do you want to do with your life? That's what asking what someone's major is, or what major they're planning is. It's asking, hey, what do you want to do with your life? Where do you want to go? What job do you want? Like, you're asking someone that. And I think that's also partly why we frown on artistic jobs a lot, or like there are people that frown on that because that's a risk. You're taking that unknown future and making it even more unknown. If I said, "Oh, I want to go to I want to go to school to be a scientist," that's a bit more concrete. But if I say, "Oh, I want to go to school to be a musician," that's not as concrete because you don't know if you're going to make it or not. I think exploration is so much more than just like looking at a building. There's a reason our age group does it, and it is partly just teen rebellion, but there's more to it than that. It's finding control in a life that is so out of your own control. You're not in control of your life, and then you are told that you are. You are then immediately thrust into being in control. Everyone chooses what you do. They just tell you, here's this handout that you do. Here's this whatever. You're told what to do, and then you are told, okay, now that you've listened to me your entire life and done everything you've been asked to do, now you're on your own. What do you want to do? It's finally taking control of yourself. So that is kind of more so, I guess, my definition. But what does exploring mean to you?
Exploring has a lot of different meanings to me. One of which being kind of taking back that childhood curiosity that life is trying to take from you, because like as you grow up you're told like basically to be less curious about the world. Your mindset's like trained to be very strict, but exploring is just you get to be curious about everything around you. You get to be like, oh, what is this room? Oh, I wonder what's in this drawer. Oh, you can ask questions about everything. You can question everything without any judgment from those around you. Another way to define this is like, I like the idea of like exploring a hallway being like, and another one being the idea of like going down a hallway you're not ready to go down, because time moves without you being ready. Like you can't pause time, you can't stay in one moment for the rest of your life. You're just kind of pushed along. But with exploration you just get to choose which hallway you go down, and it's kind of just, you're not stuck by any rules. You're not trapped by like any rules of society. You can just go anywhere. It gives you just a feeling of freedom, just being able to do whatever you want, and just be curious about everything. I was trying to think of something else, but I forgot. Back to the idea of time being taken away from us. When we move into college, we're really just stuck by deadlines and like stuck in time as it moves us along. Like you don't get to look around, you don't get to be curious about anything, which it's another part that stresses teenagers when it comes to going from high school to college. You're just thrown from like this kind of slow moving life to, okay, now we're going to drag you along, you better keep up or you're going to fall behind. And that's a very scary thing. So when teenagers see that, they want to get everything done before that so they can relax. And exploring is a way to relax because it it's once again not like strict. You get to do whatever you want. You get to move around and just enjoy life in the moment.
There's another aspect of exploration which I don't think is like the physical aspect, and it's the more like emotional aspect, the idea of like exploring yourself. And I think that's something you're constantly doing as a teenager, is like exploring who you are, exploring yourself basically. That's what going to college is asking you. Explore yourself, explore your mind, explore your emotions. And I think that's something that we learn to do as teenagers, is explore I mean we explore our sexuality, like literally. Like it might be like, ew, gay. But it's also like you're questioning yourself, which I think is also why like sometimes stricter parents can suck, or like parents that parents that are like that don't like gay people can also be really harmful, because you're preventing exploration, which is so necessary for being a teenager. Not just the physical, like going out, look at abandoned building or cool new place or whatever. Also the emotional exploration and discovering yourself, discovering your gender, who you are, and discovering your sexuality, who you're attracted to, discovering what you like and what you don't like, who you are as a person. So like you can explore your sadness, figure out how you cope with things, or explore your joy and figure out what makes you happy. And what, so there's such an emotional side to exploration too that is so inherently a part of being a teenager. There is the like physical exploration, which not everyone can do, but I think the emotional exploration is not only something that everyone can do, but something that everyone should do and almost has to do. Do you think, like, I'll explain mine, but since you're the interviewee here, what has your process being a teenager of emotional and self exploration been like?
I've done a lot of self exploring over the years. As a trans woman, it it was just it's just part of my identity. It's part of my basically origin story. Like I explored like my sexuality, my gender identity, everything. Even from a young age, I was exploring it without realizing it. Exploring emotions, everything. Um, but during COVID, I was given a lot of extra time to do that emotional exploration and like thinking about who I am. Um, because like throughout my childhood, I was like very feminine. I had long hair, only hung out with girls, played with dolls, the all the sort. Um, so, and that was a way for me to explore a different side than I would grew up like learning, which was, the masculine side of life. Like, oh, play video games, war.
How boys.
How boys play with toys.
Football.
Football, sports. Um,
Bacon.
um, but like I I'm so glad I grew up with like supportive parents that wanted us to explore the world and learn about ourselves and each other, because if I wasn't allowed to do that, I don't know where I would have been now. I would have been very unhappy with who I was. But being able to explore myself, I was able to find out what kind of things I did and didn't like. And during COVID, I found that I didn't like all these, like, gendered stereotypes being applied to me, or, like, this, like, this thing I grew up like being taught, which was you are a boy, you like boy things, you have to be a boy because society has assigned that to you. And then, I found out about the LGBTQ community from a friend, and it opened a new world of exploration, which was the exploration of sexuality and gender. And it gave me something else to reflect on when I thought about myself. Because I was like, huh. So this feeling of sadness that I've been, or not sadness, like, I loved myself, but I didn't really love who I loved, or who I was. I loved what I was doing. So I learned that I wasn't really, like, happy with who I was. And this feeling that I was feeling, I finally found a word for, which was dysphoria. And, like, learning about that definitely opened up new, like, areas of exploration for me, which was, why was I feeling this emotion? I was like, was it depression? Definitely not that. And was it problems at home? Not that either. I had a very healthy home life. And then I realized, wow, I'm transgender. Transgender? Kylie Jenner? Is that you?
Are you real?
Are you real?
You're a woman.
Oh shit.
Kylie Jenner goes to
Kylie Jenner.
Your gender is wrong.
Oh shit. Thank you, Miss Jenner. I'm transgender. I become her. I'm trying to remember where I was. A little rant about Kylie Jenner.
The home life.
Yes.
Good one.
But coming out to my family about being transgender, I was welcomed with so much warmth and so much, like, support that allowed me to, like, explore, like, myself. It gave me the opportunity to explore myself openly and be willing to discuss the things I learn. And people who live in strict households, I know a lot of people in horrible home life situations where they can't be themselves because their family thinks that they're, like, sick in the head and need, like, mental help because they're non-binary. And they don't have the opportunity to explore themselves because they're stuck in this household by strict rules. Like, they're being babied, basically. And they're not allowed to live in their, like, teenage years. I think parents have big, a good amount of responsibility in the amount of exploration their child can do, because even when it comes to, like, physical exploring or anything, the amount of freedom that their child is given to go out or, do research or get the help they need is limited with strict parents, which makes it so their children can't, like, live their lives. And many people grow up being how I would have been with a strict household, which is not happy with who they are and unsure of why that is. So I think exploration is a big part of growing up and needs to be discussed more so these people aren't stuck not understanding themselves.
Yeah. I mean, true and real and based. There's not much I can add on. There's not much I can add on. I mean, other than, like, my own experiences, and also saying like you definitely discuss more of the like sexuality and gender. For me, I think from my experience, the like emotional exploration and like self exploration in the sense of like personality and discovering who you are, because I am gay, but that was not a huge like plot. That was not a huge. You're what? All right, I gotta leave this interview. There's it wasn't a huge plot point because it was like, oh, my family had always raised me accepting and like discussing it very openly, and so it was not a huge deal for me. So much so that I knew, I just didn't really think about it because it was just so casual. So when I like was like, oh yeah, no, I am gay, I was just like, I'm gay, and came out to everyone, and it was just kind of like simple. Uh, for me though, I think more importantly is like emotional. I wouldn't say more important, but something like more impactful in my own life specifically is emotional exploration, which is something that I think boys our age don't do. They don't explore their emotions, and that makes them, I wouldn't say bad people, because sometimes, yeah, you can say these people are bad, but it's not always their fault because they haven't explored themselves and been emotionally available. Because some people say, like, oh, you have to be emotionally available to other people. Yeah, you should, but also you need to be emotionally available to yourself. You need to acknowledge how you're feeling and do something with it. And boys don't do that. And I'm very lucky that I have been able to question myself and like see my emotions and grow because of them, and see how I act and grow because of it, and consider myself from different lenses and different viewpoints. But then there's like another problem that then gets stacked on top of that, because you didn't like touch on it too heavy, but like for you specifically, be realizing that you're trans and then yay accepting yourself, but now other people don't like you because they're transphobic, which then becomes a new problem on top of that. So you've solved one problem, which then leads to another. So same thing happened to me, just on a much smaller scale, which is realizing, becoming emotionally in tune, discovering emotions, realizing how I cope, how I handle grief, loss, and also how I find joy and come back to myself and enjoy myself, then makes me more emotionally mature, which people don't like when it comes to men. They don't like when guys enjoy, yeah, their emotions, high value men. They don't like it when guys have emotions, like when they enjoy themselves and they are sad and are open about it and are in tune with their emotions. People don't like that. And since I am like that, it then kind of makes me feel almost upset at myself, and also know that other people don't like it when you're in tune with your emotions. Because for me, I can also say, like, when people say like you're more sensitive or more soft, which is something that boys shouldn't be, then if you are that way, people will call you gay, which then works in the homophobia. So it's like, oh, you can say, oh, you're obviously more sensitive because you're gay. Like, obvious, those two are correlations. When you're gay, you're emotionally available, which is not true. There are many gay people who are not emotionally available, and there are many straight people who are emotionally available. But people, specifically boys who are emotionally available, or just are in tune with their emotions, are emotionally mature, no, that's a no. That's a bad. Which is so bewildering. Why? Oh, dude, this guy is so in tune with his emotions. That's stupid, and I hate that. Why? That's so weird. That's so odd. It's like, I don't know, and I feel like that's a part of something that I've had to explore. Is after exploring your emotions, you then have to explore the almost problems that come with that, which are so weird because it seems like it's only beneficial, right? It's only beneficial to explore your gender and become comfortable in who you are. It should only be beneficial to explore your emotions and become emotionally mature and available and understanding. But there are people, a surprising amount of people, who don't. So unfortunately, it runs out at 30 minutes. So I have a timer going now. We kept talking and we discussed exploring personality, and we were about to start discussing exploring creativity. So I'll give a brief rundown, now losing the like personal details, but exploring personality. We discussed that it is both for yourself and for everyone. Uh, you discussed specifically for you that a part of your personality is making others happy and comfortable, and that your personality changes over time, obviously. You also mentioned that exploring emotion also will impact your, is also kind of related to exploring your personality. Maybe not directly, but they are very similar. I meant to say this, but I didn't actually say it at the time, which is I think exploring your emotions will always impact your personality somewhat, but exploring your personality will not always impact your emotions. I then basically echoed what you said, and then also mentioned that your personality is not these big, grandiose things. They are the small things that all come together, your tendencies and your actions and your emotions and like your responses to certain things. All of that kind of comes together and forms your personality. And you can change it, you can shape your personality, but a lot of it is natural, and there's some of it that you can't shape or change. And you should be okay with that. You should be comfortable with that. If it's harming other people, there is definitely some work that you should do, but there's no need to actually like go out of your way to change yourself constantly. There are people that will constantly change their personality, but you don't need to, right? You don't need to. You just be yourself, and if people don't like that, most of the time you can just say, yeah, that's them, and that's not me. If, you know, if, what's the saying? It's like, if you pass by 10 assholes on your way to work, you're the asshole. If you get into work and you're like, oh, dude, everyone on the road today is just driving terribly, and it sucks. Sometimes it's literally just you. Sometimes you're the one driving terribly.
Okay, but when you see me getting cut off by every car,
That was crazy. There's some crazy things that go on the highway. Like just people just be like, let me see how this lane feels.
See how the middle of the
highway feels.
Like, no,
Let's see how this hospital bed feels. Let's see how the back of this ambulance feels. Your personality is defined by smaller things. I said my just insane addiction to polar seltzer is not. It is a part of my personality, even though it's not very like important. I would say like your glasses. That's a part of your personality. Stuff like that. Those are part of your personality.
I feel like this bag specifically.
Oh my god, yeah, it's like everywhere.
So I'd say it's a part of my personality.
Yeah, the microphone.
It's this bag, this Coach bag, has been with me for everything. I went to a concert with this bag.
Oh, was that the JPEG Monster?
Yes. It was an insane concert. I don't know how I still have it. But this bag, like, everybody's noticed it because it's just the bag that April carries.
Yeah, I've noticed it. I haven't put it out.
Yeah. But, like, there are so many small things like that shape our personality. Like, just things, like, around our room. Like, I have all these stuffed animals, all these paintings, all these things that have been gifts from friends that I keep displayed in my room. And if you look at that from knowing that, you'd think, oh, she really cares about her friends. It's just like all these small things show your personality. Or your personality is reflected in the small things and the big things that you do.
Yeah, definitely.
And as you said, like, your personality doesn't always shape your emotions, but your emotions always can shape your personality. Usually does. Growing up, I said this before, but growing up, I didn't really understand the LGBTQ community. I was kind of like not really homophobic, but just like
Confused.
lacked understanding. Um, and finding out that they're just people and they're the same as, you and me. Obviously, we're part of the community, but like the viewer and I, we are the same, even though I'm trans and bisexual. Um, we are just people. And learning that, it made me more empathetic and understanding of others around me, which greatly impacted my personality. But me being a little more funny every day doesn't impact me emotionally as much as it
Being
the,
transgender.
being trans.
Which is a part of your personality.
Yeah.
I hate it when gay people push it in my face. It's not a personality trait. It's just your sexuality. It is a personality trait. And we need to stop acting like it's not. It is a personality trait. Your sexuality is... Do you disagree?
Well, okay. Here's my thoughts on it, because we're talking about how your personality can change, and saying that your sexuality is your personality kind of influenced the idea of your like sexuality being a choice,
Oh, yeah.
when it's really not that. You're just kind of your brain can't alter what you were born with.
Yeah. You can't change your gender. That's what you were born with.
This game sucks.
I guess you're right. I guess the better way of putting it is like parts of your sexuality or your gender identity will affect your personality.
Yeah,
like
your
if I was straight, I would not be like boots the house down, slay. I would not watch like Drag Race or videos of like I wouldn't watch makeup tutorials, even though I don't do makeup. If I was straight, most likely at least. So that is like a part of there is a part of your sexuality that influences your personality, which is the community itself and the culture of it will influence your personality. Culture influences your personality. So how you were raised will influence your personality. How the place you were raised in will influence your personality. All of that stuff influences your personality, and sometimes it's a community you choose and go into. Like, we know, like, Dream fans, their personalities are going to be insane when they're older. Like, they're going to be, like, ooh. I mean, I was a Call Me Carson fan, but, like, you know.
But that's, like,
That's different, because he was actually funny. Until he diddled kittles. He did a little bit. It's crazy. We were just starting to talk about creativity exploring creativity. And you mentioned...
You can just dive back in.
Yeah, just go... You know what? Let's just go right into it. Let's dive back in here. Exploring in a creative sense. Let me start over when I was... My preamble. Exploring in a creative sense is, I wouldn't say the final form of all of them, but how emotions is basically, I mean, not entirely just yourself, but is mostly for you. Personality is kind of 50-50. Creativity is more so what you put out there. It is partly for yourself, but I think there are some artists that are very selfish, that are like, I only make this for me, and I just let other people watch it. I don't really like that, because it's like, hey, when you're creating things, you're releasing them to the public. If you're creating something for yourself, then keep it for yourself. Anyway, I was explaining that exploring creativity is not just artistry, which is the very forefront of creativity. Painting, writing, sculpting, all of these like different music, performing, acting, all of that is like the forefront of creativity and artistry. But there is also a more simple kind, which is like everything is creative in its own sense. And before I just checked the camera, you were discussing your exploration of creativity and how, again, it is not the conventional artistry.
Yeah. So when you mentioned earlier about like artists, like creativity being something you create with your hands, I was thinking, well, that's not how I see it. Because how I see it is creativity being how you exercise your personality, how you like put it
Yeah.
out there through music, art, anything you,
And not just your personality, yourself as a whole.
yeah, your emotions.
Mhm.
You can explore yourself through creativity. Um, a way that I do it is how I interact with the people around me. Like, I create these unique experiences for the people I'm talking to. That because that's how I have found my um, I'm best able to express myself. Because I've tried art, I've tried music. I love music. It's a beautiful thing, but I'm not good at it, and I don't have the time to become good at it. So I find other creative outlets, and one that I've turned to most often is my interactions with others. Um, because I like to express myself through my words and through what I say and what I do. Another way being improv, because I love improvising. It's just
D&D.
creating story. Huh?
D&D.
D&D, yes. Dungeons and Dragons, for those who are unaware.
Unaware.
Um, a board game that allows well, not technically a board game,
Role-playing
a
game.
role-playing game that allows the creators or players to create their own people to play as, which gives others another way to explore like themselves by making these characters. It allows them to, honestly, it's a way to test the waters, sort of, when you're thinking of your personality or your emotions, because you can make this character.
Call that.
Um,
I'm just thinking about.
okay. Um, you can make these characters like the most outlandish thing, like a very outgoing but like selfish person. You can try you can give these people flaws that you find in yourself and figure out ways to explore them through this character. And it's another way for people to like put themselves out there, put their emotions out there. And another way is for the person running the game by creating this world with all these different things like belief systems, races, types of architecture, even. There are all these different ways for the players as well, just the player and the creator, to just go out and do their own thing. It's so creative and such a beautiful thing. And it's another sort of way for me to, uh, like, on the topic of using my creativity in conversation and improv, it's another way for me to do that and get better at it. Because, and so is this. Like, you're handing me questions and my personality is coming out through my answers. It's just so many ways for people to, um, or so many different ways for people to show themselves by being creative in just small things such as how they talk and stuff.
And I think it almost all circles back to us exploring things, like physically going to buildings and exploring, enjoying our youth and adolescence. That is, I guess, as you explained it, a creative outlet for you, an interaction that is not crafted, but experienced through you and your creativity of things to do and experiences to have. I think my creativity is, and my experience with creativity is probably the most personal one, and it's deep and it's long, and I don't need to go on and on. But I write a lot. I write poetry, I write short stories. I tried writing a novel, it didn't work. Not enough attention spent for that one just yet. But creatively expressing yourself is so important, no matter how you do it. I think one thing that's like very interesting about D&D specifically, I haven't done it. I haven't. I mean, I play Baldur's Gate, but like I haven't actually played D&D in a while. Like a full long campaign that I like go back to constantly, whether I'm the DM or a player. I haven't, and I miss it. But it's definitely like something I was thinking about recently, which is it is very much a good way to like discover yourself, and like it is a very huge outlet for people who are like, I think it almost like it reminds me back before you were trans and we played D&D. You were always a female character. You always played someone who was a female. It's a sign. I was also usually a female character. I was also usually a female character.
Yas, like
Yas.
pussy popping.
Yeah. Notice how all the emotionally intelligent people were either usually female characters from back then. Look. The but like I remember like a part of me back when I like DM'd a campaign was so happy to like, it was so creatively expressing to make stories that people could interact with. And then eventually losing that outlet of D&D helped me discover just normally writing stories. Just writing stories the normal way. Being normal. Like, have you tried being normal? I did, and it worked. But again, it all circles back to exploration and physical exploration. I mean, that's what graffiti is. Graffiti is creatively being artistic in a place that you have explored, usually against the wishes of higher powers, being God. God told me
not
to go,
graffiti this building.
but I'm gonna do it anyway. Got him. I think it all circles back to this thing. Exploration is a huge circle because, or like a big triangle, one like all the lines connecting each other, like a detective board, where it's like physical exploration is a way to grapple with emotions, specifically those that we mentioned of being an adolescent, which is why it's so popular in adolescence. All of the exploration as a whole, all of this we've been talking about, is most seen and most popular and most done as adolescents in our age group. And we still have much more exploring to do, but they all connect. So physical exploration is some form of creativity, but it is also some form of grappling with emotions and a way to grapple with emotions. And then when you bring your friends along, it can also be a way to change or express your personality. And then the same way that your personality influences your emotions influence your personality. And then when you are being creative, that comes from your emotions and comes from your personality. And being creative, like in D&D, can help you discover parts of yourself, parts of your personality, parts of your emotions that you didn't know or didn't think about before. All of them connect and form just exploration as a whole. You and I have just our armchair psychiatried our way to the definition of exploration, which is all of these things combined, this vast discovery of things. Though I would like to say, just on my own personal note, too many people equate those things as the same thing. Exploration and discovery, which I think is really incorrect and almost annoys me when people will discourage themselves from physically exploring because they're like, well, it's already been discovered, right? It's like, oh, I don't want to, go to a new country and look around this cool city because it's already, Christopher Columbus just did it. He did it first. Neanderthals went to Germany first, so why should I? It's like, because it's fun, because you get to explore. Exploration isn't discovery, and discovery is not exploration. Usually, actually, I would say this: discovery always usually discovery almost always has exploration, if not always. Like discovery is always exploration, but exploration is not always discovery. You can explore, but it's not. You're not an OG. You're not the original, right? You're not an original gangster for discovering like Taylor Swift. Like you're like, it's fine. But again, that's just like a little side note. I think we've touched on everything.
I do want to say something about the idea of discovery and exploration. I feel like discovery happens while you're exploring. Like discovering a new room in this hallway, or you discover something about yourself, but you're still exploring. Discovery isn't really the final step of exploring because there's always something else to explore. You're never done exploring, you're never done changing. You never reach a final form. Like people aren't perfect, and people can always try to be perfect and better themselves constantly, but there's no final best form of a human.
Yeah.
Because we're all so individual, and what people see as perfect is subjective. So I think exploration is a beautiful thing that each of us should do and have been doing without even realizing it sometimes. And discovery is those things we realize as we're doing it, or maybe even what we take while we're exploring, the things we take subconsciously and add to ourselves and use as building blocks for other things. Those are discoveries that that influence our exploration.
Discovery is a part of exploration, but it isn't the purpose of exploration. A lot of people almost will discourage themselves unknowingly by thinking that the purpose of to explore is to discover, which it's not. To explore is to be oneself and to find oneself and to be comfortable in oneself. Yeah, I think that's it.
I thought of something else.
Oh, really?
So I always hit up my friends when I'm doing these small tasks. So you understand.
When you said that you needed. She said that she needed to withdraw money, and I said no. She's like, will you come with me to the bank? And I said, what? No. But also, when she asked to take a guess, I will say yes.
Yeah, I'll take my friends on these mundane tasks because it's not about the destination. It's not about the final task we're doing. It's about the journey that we take on that way. We are carving a path where we can have a significant discussion during these mundane tasks that alters the direction of our futures. Why do you look like you're cringing?
No. It doesn't match the vibe.
Okay.
She explore on my personality till I emotion.
Thank you.
It's not the destination, it's the journey.
Yeah, that saying is so true, and I feel like will forever be true. We were planning to go to Montreal, and
Did that fall through?
yeah, it kind of fell off because it's super expensive.
Yeah,
But Ethan, our friend, was still talking about going on a trip, just in general, and a road trip. But he had no destination, and in the front of my mind, not even the back of my mind, in the front of my mind, I'm thinking, why do we need a destination?
Exactly, yeah.
I could drive thousands of miles with no destination just for the purpose of driving, just to be with my friends. Because every laugh, every joke told, every sentence said is a new experience that will that forever changes the path that I'm walking.
I think you're right. I think we definitely do need to go on a road trip. That's for real, though. We do need to do a road trip. That would go crazy. But I think in the end,
In the end.
exploration was the friends we made along the way. But also, real though. For real. Unironically. For true. Exploration is just kind of the experiences and not the. It's not always the result of those experiences. The result of those experiences, the result of those explorations, is something else. It's not the exploration. Exploration is finding the thing. What you choose to do with it is not the exploration. That's you, right? When you explore your emotions and find how you cope, how you cope with something, how you cope with grief, right? If you explore and find that within yourself, then what you choose to do with that knowledge, whether change how you cope, find better coping mechanisms, or double down on your current coping mechanisms, whatever it is, that is not exploration. But the finding it is. Exploration is not the end of that hallway. It is the hallway itself. Explanation is not the exit. Exploration is not the exit. It is the journey. It is not the destination. It is the journey. Like, again, sounds goofy, but it's true. And I think, unless you have anything else to say,
No.
I think that's it. That
wraps up.
that's exploration.
That's exploration for you.
Uh,
The exploration of my destination till I journey.
she personality on my emotion to like creativity. Anyway, my mom made us dinner, so
I didn't even know that.
let's
That's awesome.
let's chow down. Yeah. True.